was relationships between agents. It was relationships between their agents and their clients. So I try to do that, and you don't always get that receptive, that warm reception from the other side. But when you do, you'll always remember each other, and I think that's really important to doing business long term down the road.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to the Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and we are having another guest on who's going to share his knowledge and give us some more insight into his profession, his market, and his career. We want to welcome Kevin Kowalik to the show. How you doing, Kev?
I'm good. How are you doing, Kevin?
Good. I can call you Kev because I know that's short for Kev. My name
Absolutely.
Also. And your email, Selling with Big Kev. When I saw that, I said, I can't wait to get him on the show. I can't wait to get him on the show.
It's a good conversation starter. That's for certain. That's for certain.
Perfect, man. All right, so let's get it going. I want to start things off a little casual, a little lighter, a cooler, I should say, with an icebreaker called word association. I got a few words associated with real estate. I'm just going to yell them out, and I just want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. If that's another word, a definition, a sentence, story, whatever. You ready?
All right, let's go.
Let's roll. First one, marketing.
Dependent upon the personality.
Okay. Automated underwriting.
Lending and very important for working on behalf of the client,
Okay. Condominium.
I would say very good for somebody who likes to travel and not want to have a lot of maintenance to worry about at home.
Very good point. For sale by owner.
It can work, and it can work for some people that think they have the skill set or they've done it before. There are some folks that is not a fit for them and their personality, which leads us to the profession that we're in. So yeah.
Last one, pre-qualification. Very
important to have a pre-qualification letter attached to an offer.
And there it is. Well,
leave those open a little bit, maybe something for conversation,
Yeah. There it is. Well, thank you, Kev, for getting us started off that way. We appreciate that, giving us a little bit of knowledge, insight to some things. So now I want you to pretty much break yourself down into who you are as a person. All right. In 60 seconds or less, can you tell us who is Kevin outside of real estate?
Sure. Okay. So here goes. Dedicated to serving, protecting, and keeping people safe, both my clients and people in general. Upfront, honest, straightforward, sometimes to a fault. Problem solver. I would say those would be a problem solver. So.
Have you served in the military?
No military, but another line of work. So we can dive into that a little bit.
you know what, and I just asked that because you have the mannerisms of a man who's going through that type of training, if that even makes sense. The energy I'm picking up from you, you seem like you're very disciplined. You're very boom. Just the answers you gave me just really made me think about that. So
I think you're onto something. I think we'll have a good conversation with that and see where that kind of relates to this industry and real estate.
All right. Let's keep going, man. Well, thank you for providing that insight. So let's get into your market right now. Currently, describe for myself and for our audience where you're serving geographically, and then get into some of the economics in regards to real estate, where you are.
Sure. So the I guess the business that I do for myself and my clients is a little bit different than probably what you would find maybe for a typical agent. And maybe there's some out there that do what I do, but I tend to run a little more boutique style, personal and professional referrals and things like that. So honestly, I've gone as far up as South Branch, Michigan, and down to Dundee. So pretty much all over the state, provided it's feasible and the relationship that I have with my client, the way I come across them, it works for me and works for them. Now, kind of tightening up that geographical location a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oakland Township, Romeo, Bruce Township, Washington, Almont. So kind of where Oakland County, Macomb County, and Lapeer County kind of fall together.
Right. Okay.
That's where, if I'm local, that's the area that I focus on. But again, if I've got a client, and it's like I said, I've had a client down in Dundee, I've had a client up in South Branch, so I pretty much will go where I have to go, because of the clients that I'm getting. There's some type of an affinity or a friendship or relationship or
Mm-hmm.
business acquaintanceship or something. So it's a little more time spent individually than maybe some other agents that are very busy in one specific geographical location. Like somebody may market to Rochester only, or that's their core area. I pretty much will go where the client needs me and see if it's feasible for me and the client. So
That's always interesting, that response right there, because I mean, I swear I have guests on the show that'll say, I'm only in this community, I'm only in this area, because I noticed I grew up in this area, I know it
right.
back and forth. Then you have people that I'm doing the entire state, I'm licensed for the entire state, I'm
Sure.
doing the entire state. So
Sure.
just to hear the different people's perspectives on their current market and the reason why they do that market is always interesting to me. So
For sure.
just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
Since we already kind of glanced over it, talking about previous occupations, let's talk about it more. Are there any previous occupations that you held where you felt like some of the skills, knowledge, and abilities you took from that job helped you in your career now?
Most certainly. So, quick little story. So, it
Mm-hmm.
started out in a very unorthodox fashion for real estate. So, I actually in high school did some freelance photography work for the biweekly publication for the MLS in Macomb County. So, what that required is you'd go out and you'd have to find a house. You'd have to talk to the owner and see if they would, allow you to use a picture of their home for the biweekly publication. And I'm dating myself here. So, this is back before internet availability, Zillow, anything. So these were the.
Woo.
I know.
I'm joking.
Don't fall out of your chair, right? So yeah, this is mid '90s, and like I said, I had ironically, indirectly related to real estate. My mom worked for local MLS, and she also worked for a real estate school managing the back end operations of that. And I was around a lot of good, influential agents and mentors and people like that. And, I had an interest in photography back then, and I mean, still do. And it kind of opened itself up. And yeah, I've got a handful of publications with houses of, pictures of houses I took with my name at the bottom of the little 2-week publication. And, people used to pick them up at the grocery store or at the restaurant and stuff. And that's how you'd find your houses. You'd have a little 1-inch by 1-inch square of information like, price, a grayed out picture, and a number to call, so
I know exactly what you're talking about too. Wow.
Yeah.
You were taking those pictures?
Yeah, that's what
crazy.
started it, and then now to catapult that into my career, I always had an interest in houses and things like that, but I finished out and retired from law enforcement, fire, and EMS. So I'm a retired public safety officer, retired as a sergeant from a local department in Oakland County.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, had the police, fire, and EMS. So, I mean, it's interesting how, ironically, you wouldn't think it is, but how similar, both are. I mean, honestly, like I guess anybody's profession, you're dealing with people, I mean, you're serving people, you're helping them in their time of need. Certainly, police, fire, EMS is a completely different ballgame. Maybe a little more emergent, or maybe a little more complex, or there could involve other things. But ultimately, whether I'm serving a client in the capacity to help them either find or sell their home, or just even guide them as to what their options are, doing the same thing in law enforcement. The key factor is helping people, serving and helping people. So
yeah. I knew I wasn't off. See, that's why
you were close. Yep.
I knew I wasn't off. That's crazy. I just see, man.
This throws it off because I had to shave for 20 plus years, and I don't have to do that anymore. So now I can take it easy a little bit.
I know, right? Enjoying your facial hair. I knew I could just tell by your energy, your demeanor, and the way you answered the questions. He seems like a man of the military, but you're just a man of discipline, a man of structure. You know what I'm saying? And I can
Yes.
see that. So, man, hats off to you. Thank you for
Appreciate it.
serving our community. Thank you for your
Appreciate it.
service. I will say that.
I appreciate that very much so.
Yeah, so the moment you decided that you wanted to be a real estate agent, like let's describe that exact moment where you know what? I'm selling houses. This is what I want to do.
So it started out back in 2000 when I actually started my law enforcement career. I actually always knew that in law enforcement or fire and EMS, there's a possibility that you could get hurt. You could get disabled on the job. A multitude of things could happen, for your physical health or anything like that. And I always wanted to have a backup plan. And being around, like what I was talking about with the photography and having, my mom managing a very good real estate school for its time, kind of introduced me to that. Just a little teaser here and there. And I got to see a lot of people. I've always liked houses. I've always liked architecture, building, design, things like that. Like I said, both me and my wife both do. So it's always been a common interest of ours. And I figured to have a backup plan, you always want to, diversify yourself a little bit and have a backup plan. I was licensed the same year in 2000 when I started my, law enforcement, fire and EMS career. And ironically, I maintained it, did a few referrals here and there over the years, but I really stayed focused on my, my professional career before retirement. In hindsight, I look back on it now, I wish I would have worked the real estate a little bit, but if you go back in the early 2000s, it was kind of taboo to be part-time, so to speak, where you were going to do real estate part-time, because it was either kind of full-time as a agent in the office or maybe holding, right? So I kept my license in holding, and I would refer out when I had the opportunity to, and I was able to pull it out of holding a few times throughout the course of my law enforcement career. And I knew when retirement was coming up, I wanted to do something. Got to keep the brain working. Otherwise, when you retire, you don't want your body to fall apart, right? So I ended up speaking to my broker. Ironically, we knew each other in the law enforcement capacity, and he has a brokerage. And I was speaking with him a couple years out prior to retirement, and basically just kind of told him what my expectations were with my business model, what I'd like to do. And like I said, as soon as I retired, I kind of went full thrust into this, and for how I wanted to structure running my business and working for myself, and create more time for my family, and really take a break from what I did for pretty much my whole career. So
talk about it. Having more freedom of time, more freedom of your own time, and that's priceless, man.
It is.
That's priceless. I've heard from a few different agents who've had that 2020 hindsight vision where they're like, man, I wish I would have started this earlier. I wish I would have, if I could go back and change, I wish I would have done it. We can all think back to a few things we wish we would have done a little bit earlier, but it's all in divine order. You start when you're supposed to start, There
you go. So, that's it. Yeah. That's it. Yep. That's 100% it. And again, you woulda, shoulda, coulda, but yeah, I'm glad I did it when I did it. I think the nice thing for me, based on that was the fact that I had, 20 years of licensure, continuing education, a little referral, and kind of keeping relevant. So at least when I started out, full time or getting into it actively, I didn't have the learning curve that a lot of new agents that I've either worked with or talked to, or, we converse with and stuff that, they're trying to get acclimated with all the forms and all the terminology and all the legalese that's involved. So I feel that was a very good advantage for me being licensed as long as I was, and kind of having that knowledge base up to that point. I think it made the transition to it easier. And then, of course, with obviously law enforcement and stuff, there's a legal aspect to that. So having an understanding of laws and how to apply them and when they're applicable and stuff, I think that it assisted me as well to start my real estate career. But yeah, that was an advantage. And I think that helped me, and at least made the transition a little bit easier, where I see some new agents get frustrated with trying to learn all the stuff, and you're trying to lead gen, and you're trying to, earn money, or, where it could be a very difficult time for a lot of new agents. So, yeah,
I get it. Yeah. I mean, handle what you can handle, essentially,
right,
and just go from there. You have any stories you can share with us about, you building a relationship with a client, and even after closing, you still remain close and maybe even went to each other's birthdays or anything? You got any stories like that?
Honestly, because a lot of my client base is either a friend of a friend or a professional or personal reference. There's somewhat what of a relationship or something established, at least through some people already.
Right.
But
Okay.
one in particular, there was a friend of my wife's actually had referred her friend to me as an to be her agent, and it was a situation where she was coming out of a very come to find out a very, in my opinion, a very horrible domestic violence or domestic situation,
Mm.
and uh, the person that referred her to me was cognizant of my background and the ability to have dealt with that in that aspect, and felt that I'd be sensitive to this individual's needs and ensure that their safety was paramount, and that they felt comfortable with the whole process. And again, being very straightforward and accessible to the effect of, again, just in understanding her situation. Um, and from that point, I mean, really, really good friendship developed out of that. We talk on a regular basis still.
There you
So,
go.
and yeah, I again, you can't. It makes me feel good to know that you can still serve somebody in this capacity in real estate. That kind of fulfills that thing that was missing for me when I retired, and I think that's a very satisfying aspect. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of folks that get out of military or law enforcement or firefighting that feel this void or a gap of,
Mm-hmm.
you serve for
Yeah.
very long and you really don't know how to fill that gap and try to continue what you, to your point, what you feel driven by faith to do, which is serve.
Yeah.
And this definitely has done that. Definitely has done that. So that's
There it is.
one good situation. Found a great house. And the nice thing now is I get to see this person heal. I get to see them
Oh man, that's
relax,
beautiful.
be at home, be at peace.
Ooh.
Nothing better to watch somebody transition and be at peace out of a situation that was so such turmoil for them, and to be a part of that.
That's all
Man,
I'm gonna say. And
yeah,
you were a big
yeah,
part of it too. Oh
yeah.
man,
To
Kev.
be a part of it, that was nice. Those are the stories, and those far exceed the little frustrations in real estate, or
Mm-hmm.
the little frustrations with maybe a specific transaction, or a client or an agent or anything like that. These far outweigh those all day, and you got to remind yourself of those when you get frustrated at anything, to know that there's a bigger purpose behind this. And if you obviously work to serve, then it's something that this allows you to keep that in perspective.
Yeah, man. Oh man, hats off to you, man. A very honorable thing right there. I mean, you were just doing your job, but the big difference that you made, in her life, man. I mean, you'll never be forgotten for that, man. So
No,
that's what's up. Look at
that's good
you,
stuff.
kid.
Good stuff.
I'm proud to have my name similar to you. I'm
It's
proud
a,
that we got
it's
made
a
me
good
feel
it's a
like
it's a good name, right? Yeah.
you talked about how you got a client from your wife's friend.
Yes.
But
Yep.
has there been any other untraditional, unconventional ways where you've gotten clients or leads for clients, maybe through like a social media, or somebody just randomly finding a flyer or something? Just any stories of that?
But believe it or not, I'd like to tell you, and it's like the advertised or marketing, a little $250 of free tacos if you let me list your home or something. These memes that you see, but no, I really don't. You never seen that?
No.
there's
I was
there's a,
like, what?
there's a picture. A buddy of mine sent this to me when I started doing real estate after I retired. And believe it or not, he's retired law enforcement in real estate as well over in the Jackson area. And he always jokes about the $250. Like somebody puts it on a hanger off their like for sale sign on their home. Says like buy this house now, $250 worth of free tacos or something. So that was a big joke between us. And I can't tell you, the only story I probably have that was it was a walk in faith. It was a game changer for me. Was there's this couple had been working with a different agent, 50, 60 houses, and we'll frame this. This is in like beginning of 2021, so market's hot, it's spinning. I mean, everybody,
Yeah.
you've got showings lined up around around the block and all that stuff. And this particular agent, these clients were clients to a lender, business associate of mine, and they had an agent, but they didn't feel he was, he was serving them well. 50, 60 houses, 15 offers lost. So he asked if I was interested, and I said sure. So we got on a phone call, me and these folks, maybe an hour or two talking, making sure I'm a fit for them, they're a fit for me. Hit the ground running, one and done. I mean, got them a house, great house out in the Rochester area. It was nice too because these were VA clients. So to make matters, I mean, VA offers are tough sometimes, and for us to be able to get into this home with a VA offer when they weren't even willing to initially accept VA offers was great. So that one was kind of a they were, we'll call it the homeless shopping. They're like their time was running out on their existing homes occupancy. We needed to get this done. I felt like I was up for the challenge, I guess, and again, one of the things that I guess I could describe myself as was a problem solver. So I thought, let's see what we can do to help them, and it worked out really well. It was a good catalyst to start off my career into retirement. Now this, and yeah, it was good. It was good.
Nice, man. That's good to hear. Would you consider that your most rewarding story out of your career, or do you have another one that's more rewarding, or would that be?
Honestly, every single one of these, again, because the way I structured my business, I was focused on family and time with my kids and stuff, where I had missed enough in my law enforcement career that I wanted to really focus on family. So the way I structured my business, I really don't take but a couple clients at a time. So each one to me is very, when I say personal in a good way, it's very personal. I take a lot of heart to it. I'm sure every agent does. I'm not trying to say that other agents don't, but for me, in the position I'm in, the way I structure my business, a little more boutique, where, like I said, I'm really not lead genning, so I can just amass a ton of ongoing things. I really like to not handpick, because, of course, I think again we're coming together in common ground between me and my clients, but it's really nice that each one has a very special place, I guess, in my career and my heart, just for each specific situation that they're in. And it kind of sounds like very ambiguous or bland that each one is that important to me, but they really are. I mean, each one really comes into a very for where they're at in their life and how things are working, how I can serve them, and just get it done for them. So yeah.
You're doing your part, man. You're doing your part. You got any volunteer events that you take part in or used to take part in that that are very near and dear to you personally?
I do. So I belong to a motorcycle club. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. We raise money for public safety personnel in their times of need. So the club that I belong to, we have our specific chapter. We have a charitable events throughout the year, as we do with some other chapters from our club. And we do a lot of good fundraising for, like I said, public safety personnel in their times of need. Could be maybe a EMS worker has come across a bout of cancer, or maybe a firefighter got injured on the job or off the job, and they're having a hard time sustaining their family life. Maybe they're the only one working. We'll step in and do what we can to try and raise funds and donate money to help them get through those times. So that's something that we do personally for my chapter. We do an annual poker run, where we have prizes and raffle things off and have good camaraderie, have everybody come out and enjoy their motorcycles or classic cars and things like that, and just have a good day of friendship and fellowship, and and raise money for a good cause. So
good. I love to hear about agents volunteering their time. For the most part, all of them, for the most part, have some type of volunteer community service event that they participate in on the regular, or just one that they've done recently that they're very attached to. But I feel like it's almost, I don't want to say an obligation, but if you really are dedicated to your career in real estate, and you really want to get out there to the community, you're literally going to do things to help better the community. You're going to service the community through community service and volunteer work. So
absolutely, it's got to be in your heart to do that and enjoy that. That thing. And I think everybody, it's nice. And for me, it's nice to take a break from the real estate. I'll never mention a word real estate. I'm not passing out business cards at these events to do anything. I'm just there donating my time. People already know what I do, so there's no reason for me to reinforce the idea. It's nice for me just to like I said, be out there and get to know people and converse with people on things that have
Yep.
absolutely nothing to do with real estate. Establish those relationships. They know what I do, and if anybody's interested and they feel I'm a good fit for them, we'll have a great conversation, and I know I'll serve them, in the best way that I can. But in those events when we do these, fundraisers and stuff, it's all about the fundraiser. Maybe somebody specific we're raising money for, or the event itself. It's all about dedicating my time to that, not about me, more about the event itself. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that goes into some of the good deeds, the good situations that go with your career. But there is some type of downside, if you want to call it a downside, when you're dealing with other agents, co-ops, what I just recently learned, an agent on the other side of the table, ultimately, not everything is going to go through smooth with your relationship with them. So do you have any scenarios, situations where you were working with an agent and you guys had disagreement, guys or girls had disagreements all the way into the closing table and then it was resolved? Or have you had a situation where it just didn't get resolved and it dissolved the entire transaction?
Nothing that drastic, which is good. I think you can always come to a meeting of the minds, provided that both agents understand that it's not about them, it's about their clients. And as long as we can serve our clients in the best fashion and we can get over ourselves, we can ensure that you can mediate it and come to a meeting of the minds. Now, there has been mine are very minor. I've actually been very blessed where all the agents I work with, generally speaking, especially the ones to the closing table, contract closing, they've been wonderful. Some of the, one issue that stands out in my mind would be where, like, we have a failed home inspection, not a failed, but an unfavorable home inspection. Let's see, for some reason, my client just decides that, there are too many things that came up that they're really not willing to take on. There was an instance where I think I'll say this to kind of preface it. When you're new, and there's some established agents, I think, at least I've experienced myself, they'll try to take advantage of the newness and maybe try to push a little.
Okay.
And again, I'm not one to go out and read my resume, so I'm not gonna, every time I talk with somebody, I'm not giving them all my info or data. We're there to work for our clients. But in this one particular instance, there was the home inspection was just unfavorable, so we were looking for a release. And this individual agent felt compelled to tell me that I'm required to give the home inspection report to them. And it's not in the four corners of the contract. It wasn't a provision or a negotiated provision of the contract. And, my client had spent good money and they're out that money. Why would my client's private money for their own private report be
Right.
used at the benefit to fix a property for the seller that the list agent should have encouraged a pre-listing home inspection or something, right? So when we look at that and we say, okay, now listen, if it's something that, say for example, and you'll see where I'm going with this, if it was something that was like, hey, we didn't know this, we're willing to pay half of the report, split it with you halvesies, or could you ask them or something like that? But the demand that was made, I could tell you, leaning back on my previous career, the demand was nothing more than to try and push a little and see if somebody was going to call this individual's bluff. And I did. And I said, they're really not inclined to do that because it's their money. And truthfully, I think they may have been a little more inclined to do it had this particular specific agent approached it in a more kinder fashion. Right. So, it's all about the approach, right? If you go into the approach with the intent that you really want to benefit your seller, and certainly want to benefit my client to ease some of the financial cost to them.
Yeah.
Again, now we're talking. We're getting somewhere in the aspect of reasonableness. But when you come across and think that it's this way, and then you don't even have a legal ground, and then I call you out on that, and then you get upset with me and tell me you're not going to go there today. Well, you just answered your question. Basically, what it was is you tried to. I'm not going to be mean, but you tried to punk somebody.
Tried to
And
finesse, yeah.
And that, kindness would have worked wonders. Reasonableness would have worked wonders. So that and again, in the grand scheme of things, that's so minor. But I had another, I'll call it like a contact on a different property with the same individual agent, and it's just I I don't know. I guess I'm happy. I guess I'm happier in life. I don't see where all the frustration comes from. It's very
Yeah.
just very abrupt and direct. But I tell you what, on that's a one con based on all the other transactions and things. Even just offers that either come in or me being one to put in an offer on other property. I've worked with some really great agents. I really
Hmm.
have. I
Hmm.
think it's refreshing, and you tend to line yourself up with agents that agree upon with, and you tend to talk to each other. Maybe it's, you've got a listing and they put an offer in, then vice versa. I really stress and focus on trying to reach out to the agents to call them and establish some type of relationship. I mean, that's what I saw when I was doing this freelance photography and then watching this real estate school go and seeing a lot of the folks. I mean, we're talking folks that were in the industry, like I said, 30 years ago plus. It was relationships between agents. It was relationships between their agents and their clients. So I try to do that, and you don't always get that receptive, that warm reception from the other side.
Hmm.
But when you do, you'll always remember each other, and I think that's really important to doing business long term down the road.
Man, the
Really
the
do.
nerve of some people, man. But
Yeah,
overall, what you said,
yeah,
I like what you said in regards to just basically fixing your attitude. Why even come outside? Why even leave the home if you're going to have
yeah.
this twisted attitude, and then it's going to just end up being contagious to other people around us? Like,
It
call
really
off
is.
work, stay home, get it
Yep,
together, and then come
yep.
back outside.
Yeah,
I
and
hate that.
yeah, and some people that just may be their personality, and I mean, that may work for a lot of people, or maybe people are just a lot of people are not necessarily. I'm not going to say confrontational, but maybe other people are not willing to engage in confrontation. Then it comes across an agent where if somebody is giving that confrontational mood, I can engage that. I don't mind debating and having heated discussions, but ultimately we've got to keep in mind that the client is key.
It's a
That's
time and
all. It's
place.
not about us. It's not about
Yeah.
me. It's not about them. It's not about who's better or who's done more or who's more experienced or knows more. It's about our clients, and I think as long as is my I have to remember it myself, as does anybody else. I think as long as we keep that in mind, we're going to serve the industry well, we're going to serve our clients well, and we can do better for the industry itself. I mean, I'm no stranger to my previous profession, where people have opinions on that. People have opinions on the real estate profession as well, and if there's anything I can do to soften that stigma and make not my words but the words of some of my clients, make it feel less sleazy, and we can
Mm.
actually be more professional and look at ourselves and say, you know what, this isn't about us. This is about our clients, and actually mean it. Not talking points. Not, oh, it's about my client, as I'm plastering my face all over social media when we close houses. Let's tell the story about them. Let's tell the story about how they got to be right. Let's not make it about myself or me or all my success. It's all about the client. Really is.
For
I
sure.
mean,
For
and
sure.
again, that's just my take. I'm not trying to say somebody else has to agree with me, or they can differ their opinion, but I truly feel as long as you're doing it for the client and you're not making it about yourself, we can improve our image in our industry for
No,
certain.
man. Hey, you speaking your truth, Kev. You speaking your truth. There's no wrong answer when it comes to that. I know every day is different when it comes to your career. But let's just take maybe your most recent work day. Whether that consisted of closings, of or of showings, or whatever the case may be. Can you walk us through what one of your most recent work days looks like from beginning to end?
Sure. In any given day, like I said, the first thing I like to do is, honestly, which great conversations in the morning. I reached out to a lender acquaintance of mine who we work regularly together. I like to see
Hmm.
what's going on with the market, because obviously the financial markets have a huge impact on our market, and what we do. Do that for the first hour or so in the day. Look at any deals that I have, see if there's any maintenance that's needed on them, if they need to do any follow up with email and things like that. And then, of course, if there's anything that has to get done, take care of that, by midday. And usually, like most of the clients, they're going to be, especially during the week, they're going to want to look at houses once their workday's done. So try to keep my evenings open and available, should any properties need to be shown. And, in between that, I honestly just take it as it comes. I try to have a sense of structure, but again, as soon as you figure you're going to do A, B, and C, something will come up and you're going to have to rearrange that order. So you just got to
talk about it.
You got to roll with the punches and be flexible and not work yourself into work inside of a box so much that it causes you to not be flexible on how you operate your business. And again, that's just for me. But again, if we look at my law enforcement profession and fire and EMS, we've got a plan of how things are going to go for the day. Okay, we're going to do training at this time. We have a run. We have to go. We can't do training at this time. The spontaneity and the lack of predictability of real estate, I think when that comes up, I handle that well. I just go with what we have to do and just reorganize and kind of reprioritize what has to get done. And do that acronym. We used to do it in my previous career. It's like the WIN acronym, what's important now, and see what's important now. You may want to lead gen, but if you've got, 2 deals that need attention, again, for my business, I'm dedicating my effort, everything I have for my existing deals, because if I'm not serving them with all my capacity and I'm trying to get new stuff, I'm borrowing from one aspect of my time for another. It just doesn't make sense. So I focus on what I have to get done, use that WIN acronym, what's important now. And then I take care of that. And 9 times out of 10, it may take 5 minutes. But if I decide, well, I'll do that at 1 o'clock because that's when I schedule it, something else will come up at 1 o'clock and then you may not get it done. So it's, if I've got the 5 minutes to dedicate and do what I have to do, I'll get it done and then move on. And it's either relax or wait or, kind of see how the day goes. So, yep.
Man, I am so happy you spoke on this. You were so honest when you mentioned, I have structure, I organize, but I there's this space where I got to kind of wing it because anything can happen in life. I am so happy somebody finally said it. Let me tell you something. All right. Because I am big on time management, right? I have to sit down and restructure when I'm going to do things at specific times, just so I can make sure I'm being productive, efficient, and things of that. I have my own businesses too. But the thing about it is I have a 1-year-old son, first child, me and my girlfriend. So talk about a monkey wrench, right? Thrown right in the system. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
That's just one factor. The other external factors, other people calling, situations coming up. You can have this perfect outline of a schedule that you want to do as personally, professionally, as a real estate agent, whatever.
Yes.
But you have to account for these random curveballs that will occur. I mean, you almost have to make time for this. Is the 2 hours for random stuff that might happen.
Yep, for sure.
And then after that, I'll focus on clients and then this and that. Like, I'm just glad you said it because I speak to a lot of guests, a lot of agents on the show. And they talk about, I have the structure, I do this at this time, I do that, blah, blah, blah. I've never heard anyone say, you know what, sometimes random stuff occurs, so I don't really have anything. I'm just glad you said that, Kev. Like,
it is. I've got the idea. I mean, we know, 5 things in a day that you want to get done. You can find the time to do it. But honestly, if I get thrown off track and something needs attention, I handle it because you're doing nothing but kicking the can down the road if you don't. And ultimately, I guess I extrapolate off my previous experience and go every time. It could be something as simple as lunch. Hey, you say the word lunch, or worse off, you say, hey, hey, dear, hey, honey, or hey, husband or wife or whatever in my previous career. I will be home at this time and we can do this. The minute you make plans, nope, you're not getting off work on time.
That's all
you're done.
I swear.
And it's the same thing. It really, there's not much difference in real estate. You think you've got something going, I'm going to do this. And then all of a sudden you've got a client that sees a house that pops and they need to see it in an hour. I guess you can call me the real estate 911, right? Because for me, I'll reorganize what I got going on to accommodate that client. But again, for my business model, the way I run it, I was in a business group, and one of the folks in the business group that I was in kind of made a comment. It says, well, it doesn't seem like you're doing real estate for a job. It seems like you're doing it for a hobby. And I thought about that, and it upset me at first. I was like, well, this person might be throwing a little jab there at me. Then I
Mm-hmm.
thought about it. It's no, actually, you're correct, but not in the way you think. When people do things that they like, it
Boom. I
doesn't feel
knew it.
like work.
Yep.
So, if somebody wants to say, because I'll give an example on a level of success, on what I think success is or whatever. If somebody says, I don't see you as being relevant in the profession because you're not full time, or you do this as a hobby. Ah, I loved my previous career. It never felt like a day of work. I mean, there were days it felt like work, but I loved what I did every day that I went to work. And I do that with this too. So, sure, I guess if you want to call it a hobby, great. I guess I enjoy it. I don't consider it work, and
There
I
you go.
consider it. I can consider it fun, right, or a hobby. So, that was one way to look at it. But yeah, I mean, for me, I have the ability, because I don't really carry that many clients at any given time, to ensure that I can dedicate what I feel is what I would want the time dedicated for me as a client, right? So I can adjust my schedule. I'm sure there's a lot of other agents that might be busier, but I'll give an example. On the flip side, I'm start to finish. I do
Mm.
all my own work, all my own listings, all my own entries, all my own status changes. I mean, and there are probably a lot of other agents that do, but I know there's a lot of agents that work teams. A lot
Yep.
of agents have folks at the office or at the brokerage that will
Assistants. Yeah. Things of that
absolutely.
nature.
No, I'm
Yep.
I'm I'm what I've got. And in all fairness, that's not entirely true. My wife is pretty awesome, actually, really awesome, because she has you're just kind of like the yin to my yang, right? So when I'm thinking something like, this client, I don't think they'll like the house. She's like, have you seen this? I'm like, let me take a look at it. No, they'll never like that. I kid you not. Like 20
Mm.
minutes later, like, hey, did you see this just come on the market? I'm like, this is why I have my wife, because she's
Yep.
she's a very good balance for me, but she does help. So I mean,
Shout
I
out to
do have
Mrs. Kowalik.
yeah, I have an unofficial helper, which is cool. But no, I mean, I'm pretty much doing everything on my own. My broker allows me that leeway. I like to operate that way. Here I am sitting in my office at my house, and I run it right out of here. So broker is
Mm.
great, gives me the flexibility for it, and yeah, I kind of enjoy the way my business is structured and modeled. So it's good.
Yeah, you speaking on it now. You really talking, man. Hey, Kev, looking back on your journey, your career, what key lessons have you learned about yourself, the industry, or just the importance of serving others?
Anybody hears this, they're going to start laughing, because they know the first answer. They could probably say it for me, is patience. Patience
That
is
is funny.
hard. Patience, the wait, everything. You get so used to having everything work perfectly all the time, every time, and then when something doesn't, you got to have patience. There's got to be a
Mm.
reason why. You touched on it earlier. I'll touch on it again. Faith. If in my faith and my relationship, and things like that, I know that the trials and tests that happen are specifically designed for me to learn and become better. And patience is one of them. My lender and I talk, like I said, almost on a daily basis, and he tells me on this one, "What'd you learn?" I'm like, patience. Every time you
Yeah.
feel, you've had that thought of like, what? Why am I doing this? Patience, right? So that would be
Mm.
one thing. I mean, I would say the patience is the biggest thing, and everybody's got a different definition of success. And I'm going to lean on faith one more time, or you can probably appreciate this. I don't necessarily want to define success in the form of money or notoriety or anything else. I want to define success as obedience, not results.
Mm.
If we
Mm.
do that on a faith-based aspect and we apply that down to our clients and everything else, obedience, not results. Results will come. But if you're obedient to like for us, to the industry, if you're obedient to doing the right thing for your client, right, you'll net results. But if you try to net results and you're thinking about, it's just my opinion, again, just my opinion. If I'm thinking about money and I'm thinking about results, I'm not thinking about client. And then sometimes there's a little bit of turmoil.
Yeah.
We've got to define success as obedience, not results. You know,
Man. Kev,
Interesting,
he
right?
is he is speaking through you today, man. Hey,
I'm
man,
telling you.
Kevin, coming to the closing table with a word today. We definitely appreciate it, Kev. If you have any last words and or want to tell the people how they can reach out to you at this moment, please do so now.
Sure. So I would tell for new agents, right? For new agents, it's difficult. It's hard. People are going to try and tell you they've got the magic cure, the magic pill, the magic way to become a millionaire, everything else. Here's what you have to do. You do have to try things. You do have to get outside of your comfort zone, but you also want to know where your God-given talents come from and what they are. You don't want to fight them. So if cold calling is not your thing and you're like, I'm going to master it, and if that's something you want to do, good, do it.
Right.
But if you find that you're better off walking into individual businesses and talking to people and handing out a card, spend your time doing what you enjoy. Because again, we go back to this. You have to enjoy what you do. The minute it becomes frustrating and the minute it becomes solely focused on just results is where you might find a level of frustration. Like I said, I'm never going to discourage anybody from doing anything and everything to lead gen and find clients and do stuff. And it's dependent upon your own, how big your network is of people or your sphere or anything like that. But ultimately, you do have to try things. But don't ever lose sight of what and I'll say it, your God-given talents are, and utilize those to your advantage. Don't fight it, because if you fight it, you're going to, you're probably going to be doing yourself a disservice. If you love talking to people and cold calling is not your thing, don't do it. Get out there and do what you're good at, what you feel your talents are, and what you enjoy, because you'll find obedience to that will net results. That's what I would say. As far as my personal business, like I said, I'm blessed. So, anybody that if they're listening to this and they feel I might be able to serve them well, please reach out to me. Or if not, reach out to me. I'll talk with you and I'll find you somebody that might be a great fit for you. Like I said, I never have a problem, knowing that if somebody's not a good fit for me, I tend to be a pretty good matchmaker where I can find you somebody that will serve your needs. So, but other than that, like I said, I've been blessed. I appreciate this opportunity, and like I said, I got nothing but good things to say. So,
hey, damn, Kev. Excuse me. I've never cussed on here. I'm so sorry, but yo, you just gave a word. I almost feel like you were talking to me, man. I had to sit here and almost teared up, bro. Like you just delivered something that spoke to me. So thank you again, Kev, for being here, coming to the closing table, taking out time out of your very busy schedule. We appreciate that. For our YouTube audience. Oh, please, yeah.
I appreciate you again. Very thankful. Appreciate you, and good stuff. Good stuff.
Yes. For our YouTube audience watching right now, if you've gotten to this point, make sure you please do us both the favor and hit that like button. Make sure you also share the content and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. And Kev, before I leave, I always like to leave our audience with a question for them to think on their way out the door. This is for agents watching right now. What is your current relationship with your first client that you ever served? Do you still communicate? What is it like? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.